We are now joined by another student athlete who turned a life-altering accident into a learning experience for thousands of teens. Miguel Rivera is a high school friend of mine and an inspiration to me as well as many others. Thanks for joining us, Miguel.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we went to high school together and we both played sports.
Right.
Really big deals in high school.
Yeah, big time.
How important was sports to you?
Sports was a huge part of my life ever since, I started growing up. Throughout my childhood, I played sports. So by the time I got to high school, it got to that point where, we're all kind of young adults, so it got a little bit more serious. So I took it a little bit more serious because throughout my life, I played baseball, basketball, and football. So when I got to high school, I focused on football. So that's how serious it was for me to kind of cut out all the sports and really focus on one sport. That's something that, I got to the point where I took it pretty serious during that time, yeah.
Now, I mentioned a life-altering accident. Let's talk about that a little bit. Take me back to that night. What exactly happened?
That night was, it was a different night. It was very unusual. It was August 15, 2009. And I remember seeing two friends stumbling into the house. And then I remember seeing my friend telling me, don't drive, don't drive. And for some reason I had said, I'm okay. I only lived about 5 minutes away. This was Downey to Norwalk, so it wasn't that far. And I told her that, I'm okay to drive. So I ended up getting in the car, going to the freeway, which is right around the corner. And about a mile or two down the freeway, I fall asleep on the wheel, and I kind of start drifting to the left, and I crash into a side rail, and I flip about 4 or 5 times down off of the freeway, landing upside down. Yeah, so, and then the next thing I remember is hearing firefighters just yelling out, 1, 2, 3, and that was them using the jaws of life to cut off the roof of the car to pull me out because they had to handle me with such care. They didn't really know how injured I really was. So that was pretty much what I remember from the night of that accident.
And at what point did you realize that your injuries were more severe than just a scratch or two?
Well, when I woke up the next day, I remember looking to the right and seeing my parents in tears. And from that point on, I woke up already knowing it was a very, very serious accident. And the next thing I remember is the doctor coming into my room, and he's mentioned, Miguel, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're no longer going to be able to walk again. And from that point on, my life completely changed physically, mentally, everything. It just completely changed, and I didn't know what I was going to do from that point on. So from that point on, it was pretty tough experience for me to really, take everything in. Yeah.
And I can only imagine seeing all your plans that you've, are getting ready to go to college and having to deal with that. How did you get from that sad moment of this is hard to deal with to inspiring others?
I'm not going to lie, it was really difficult to get to that moment. And honestly, it took me about 2 years to get through it, just because of the fact for those 2 years, I was in deep depression. I really didn't know how I was going to live my life. I didn't want to live my life this way. And so for me to get to that moment, it took a lot of digging deep within inside of me. But the number one thing I would say that kind of got me to that moment was just the support of my family and very close friends. Because a lot of my friends before my injury, I had a really large amount of friends, but once I got injured, a lot of them vanished. So the support was the main thing. That support system really kind of got me through it. And once I got that support, I was able to think critically about what I want to do in my life and what is it that I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. So it took a lot of digging deep within inside of me just really, realize what it is that I want to do in my life. And the one thing that came to mind was, I survived for a reason. And there was obviously a purpose for me. And not many people get a second chance, especially at, the type of accident that I had. So it came down to me just realizing that, I'm not going to take this second chance for granted. So I'm going to make the best of it.
Now, you founded an organization called Dream Big Project.
Right.
What exactly is that?
The Dream Big Project is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our mission is to educate, inspire, and provide for youth living in inner city communities. So what we do is we educate on the dangers of drinking and driving and the importance of being educated. And we inspire others to, everyone to dream big. And we provide elementary school students with backpacks full of school supplies. So one of our signature projects is our backpack distribution program, which we do annually. So last year, for example, we provided over 300 backpacks to a local school in Norwalk, Sanchez Elementary School. So pretty much that's what we're about. I usually go to middle schools, elementary schools, high schools, and share my story and knowledge and the experience of everything that I've learned pretty much from this new life that I've been given.
Miguel, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what else you do in the future.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. You can find out more about the organization and how to get involved at dreambigproj.org.